Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ratchet and Rivet and Clank and Kit, because we're finally meeting up.
I love these frickin' space platform levels because they're so nonsensical in construction that it's funny. But like,
this is the most relatable thing I've ever seen. I also need to rehearse basic social interaction whenever I talk to anybody new.
How do you do, fellow human?
Hi, my name is Ted. I have interests such as XYZ. Please don't leave. I need friends. I'm lonely.
I also have interest in XYZ. We shall discuss XYZ in great detail, fellow friend Ted.
I don't, but if I were to go on a Yu-Gi-Oh rant now, people would hate on me in the comments, so let's not talk about that.
Did you hear how like 12 Yu-Gi-Oh cards that had been banned for a million years got unbanned?
Yeah, and you know what? It probably won't affect anything because they're not halfway as powerful as they used to be anymore.
Like, I haven't played the game in a million years, so I don't remember a lot of this stuff. But they basically they unbanned what was effectively like a control magic, right? Like a steal your other.
They unbanned Change of Heart, which takes control of a monster for a turn. Well, big deal. There are monsters.
Oh, it's only for a turn? Oh, okay, never mind.
I guess you could say they had a change of heart.
What made Change of Heart so powerful back in the day was that you could target face-down cards with it, and there was no restriction to what you could do with the monster while you had it. So you could just tribute it off, or whatever. Whereas other cards have restrictions on what kind of monsters you can control. Like Brain Control has an errata that prevents you from taking control of monsters that can't be normal summoned. So you can't take control of your enemy's big uber fusion monster with 5,000 attack points.
Okay, maybe this is just me coming from having played Magic, but like steal your thing, sacrifice it for value is fairly common.
The card texts in Yu-Gi-Oh! Have to be fucking legal documents because nothing has a resource cost. So, well, apart from tribute summons, but everyone dodges tribute summons these days, so who cares? And like, it is obnoxiously easy to achieve a powerful effect with a single card. So cards that do that tend to be the ones that used to be the ones that ended up on the banned or limited lists. Of course, then you have obnoxious stuff like Yatagarasu, which also just got unbanned. That card prevents you from drawing on your next turn if you get hit by an attack with it. So, if you couldn't do anything against it the first time, you won't be able to do anything against it the next 20 times it attacks you either. It's great.
Why do card game players always have to gravitate towards the strategies that make the game completely miserable and unfun to play?
Because it's most efficient.
I get that, but why? Yeah, but why does everybody have to play like I'm going to counter every spell you play, or I'm going to kill every Why does the most insufferable people have to do that?
As someone who plays a control deck in Magic the Gathering, I'm going to say that only the really terrible control players play that way.
Yeah, I know that like the 32 counterspell deck isn't really good, but at the same time, it's also like it's just miserable.
It's more like the bad control players will blow their counter spells on every single goddamn thing you try to do, but then they won't have any counter spells left when they run out of counter spells, and you have a big ass dragon you can drop on their head. Whereas a good control player knows when to not waste their counter spells, so the other player gets to play out their strategies to an extent, and maybe even falls into a sense of security. And the trick is to get them to use their big play when you do have a counterspell ready. And that's fun. That's some good mind game shit. But, you know, rookie control players can be the most obnoxious, unfun people to play against.
We're fighting Dr. Nefarious. I bet this is the final boss of the game.
Absolutely not. Also,
Can you
developer
even like
showing
play
off
with the
once
joke?
Again.
Is that the giant dinosaur monster from Final Fantasy 13?
No, it was a dinosaur we saw earlier, but might as well be.
It looked like the giant dinosaur monster from Final Fantasy 13. You know, that big-ass motherfucker. That was basically a super boss, but you never had the patience to actually level up high enough to fight one.
Yeah. So yeah, we have our Dr. Nefarious fight.
Is he not the final boss?
No, we're fighting our dimension's Dr. Nefarious.
We haven't
Oh,
even seen New Dimension Dr. Nefarious yet, have we?
I see. So new Dr. Nefarious is the actual final boss. Okay.
No, new Dr. Nefarious We is the final boss. And then then the eventual DLC, we have new Dr. Nefarious 2.
They use Dr. Nefarious so frequently that, that's almost believable. I
The
could
new
see,
Dr. Nefarious U, he gets a squirrel tail.
I could see another universe where Ratchet and Clank didn't actually break away from satire, and they actually brand named new versions of Dr. Nefarious from game to game to sort of make fun of themselves for bringing him back.
Do other Ratchet games have recurring villains? Or is it mostly just him?
It's mostly just Nefarious.
Others will pop up on the infrequent occasion, but not as the big bad.
Yeah, there's the pirate captain, who was a recurring thing in the future series. But I don't think he was the main villain of any of the games. Dr. Nefarious is a recurring main villain, though. And other than that, no. Most games... Well, there's Quark.
Well, he's not really a villain, right? He's just a quirky side character.
I mean, he's often against us for various reasons. So.
He is the main villain of one game.
Wait, really?
Yes, he is. It's kind of a plot twist, though, so I won't say which one.
And then you're still friends with him in the next game?
No.
You're not.
No, you are not. Nefarious and Ratchet were straight-up enemies for most of the old games. And there's reasons for that.
You mean Quark.
Well, yes. Quark
You said
and Nefarious.
Nefarious.
I said Nefarious. I'm wrong. I'm getting my wires crossed. I mean, that's true also, but for obvious reasons. Quark and Ratchet were enemies for most of the original trilogy. So, I mean, not right away, but almost right away. Because Quark is... I guess Quark is the personification of the original trilogy's satire leanings. He's he's basically Logan Paul in a superhero costume. And, yeah. I mean, instead of doing stupid pranks on everyone, he just lords around pretending to be a hero. But,
everyone else does things for him.
He's a big, comedically obnoxious personality in the media. And that's pretty much all there is to him for a while. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a he's kind of presented as an irredeemable asshole for the first few games. He does grow as a character, ? And becomes one of the good guys, but
he stops trying to be a haughty dickhead. He's more like he'll still steal your accomplishments, but he's at least trying to do the right thing more often than not.
Yeah. It's hard to describe Captain Quark because on paper he seems like a very simple and kind of trite comedic villain sort of character. It's more the execution of his personality and his actions within the context of a given story that makes him memorable.
I do know that he is one of the most loved characters in the series. And he is certainly one of the more iconic ones, because other than Ratchet and Clank, the only other character from the franchise I knew about, I knew the design of, before I learned more about them, was Quark. I knew that it was the weird superhero guy with the green mask was a guy from Ratchet and Clank, but I didn't know much else.
Quark is basically the only character that survives the transition into the Ratchet and Clank movie storyline, because he's zany by default, and they didn't really need to change him much to make him funny in their whimsical children's movie format.
He fits, the person who was supposed to be your hero but actually ends up being a doofus is a pretty, standard plot twist.
Yeah.
For a kid's movie. A lot of games have done it. So, not games. A lot of movies have done it. So... I like to think of Captain Quark as Green Blasto,
because he's about as easy to take seriously. Have you ever heard of Blasto?
Yes. I've played it. It's not good.
It's not. It's really not.
So
what
we
about-
beat Dr. Nefarious. Oops.
Uh-oh. Did somebody get in front of the stage light?
Oh wow. New Dimension Nefarious is really high tech.
And now we meet Emperor Nefarious, who is voiced by Robert Atkin Downs.
And do they, like, take him seriously, New Nefarious?
Yes, because he's actually competent.
Yeah, he
He
looks
doesn't
competent.
sound the way I thought he would, though. Oh, he's got the posh British accent, too.
I wish I could have been here sooner. However, I am thrilled to announce that I've finished neutralizing my enemies.
So,
Exception of Captain Quantum.
Captain Quantum?
I mean, there has to be a version of him here, so...
The rebel Lombax was battling me. I had to.
Come here, the universe celebrate your defeat.
Okay.
Who was celebrating? You mean that?
Did he just drop the entire stadium audience into a dimensional black hole?
Yes.
Okay. This is a very different Dr. Nefarious. And it's
Did
actu-
Nefarious not kill innocents in the other games?
it's more like he was bad at it.
Oh, okay.
Like he's evil, but he's also kind of a fuck up. He's kind of like Nefarious is kind of like the Joker in that he's really psychotic and dangerous, but also like you never know at any given point in time whether he's going to be mentally sound enough to be a legitimate threat.
Wait, if we are going to face the Emperor,
I mean, I thought the assumption was always that the Joker was going to be a legitimate threat in Batman, though.
And because Emperor kicked Ratchet through the window, there's now tape over the window.
Joker's like erratic nature comes from the fact that he started as a pretty serious serial killer kind of threat,
Oh, I see. Okay.
and then they made him funnier during the kiddie age
The
of
Silver
comics.
Age, yeah.
Yes.
So he's one of the few characters that kind of keeps not so much the kiddiness, but just kind of the zany hijinks part, mostly just to keep him wildly unpredictable.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just need some context for the story. Why didn't Nefarious just, like, kill us?
Because again, he's the one who wins. He doesn't see Rivet as a legitimate threat just yet, so he's just kind of being a dick the entire time.
I see. Okay.
He made a
The-
crack about this being Rivet's first victory.
Oh,
So
okay.
they have a history of her losing.
I see. So, you can never win, overconfident villain. I'm gonna just leave you here instead of taking care of you myself.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
except, it's usually worked out for him in the past. So
I mean, I guess, but just
it's kind of
it's a pretty typical villain.
it's kind of that
overconfident villain thing.
situation. It's kind of that situation where a villainous character has become so all powerful within the setting that they don't have any adversity and get kind of bored. And there are stories that have done some interesting stuff with that. Like, I know that's a major component in the Dungeons and Dragons mythology of the three evil gods. There was a bigger, badder, eviler god who was just so tired of being an all-powerful evil god that he actually celebrated, kind of, when three mortals came to steal his power. So he just said, hey, yeah, you know what? I'll give you my power, but you three need to decide how you're going to divide it among yourselves. And he just got so exasperated by how much trouble they had doing this that he kind of had to guide them along and suggest, hey, why don't you do a game of chance? And when someone else came along to ruin that game of chance, he's like, okay, how about another game of chance? This is getting ridiculous. And that... But, depending on the story you're telling, it can be an interesting direction. Because, when you think about it, it's a psychologically viable endpoint for that sort of character. Because if your goal is to gain power, what do you do when you've gained all the power there is to be gained? it sort of becomes meaningless without some sort of other motivation for keeping it. And Emperor Nefarious here is just kind of evil for evil's sake. That's kind of Nefarious's thing. The only difference between him and our Nefarious is he's good at it. So he got his power. So now what's he supposed to do?
I don't know, open a bakery.
And here's this plucky Lombax girl with a robot on her back that's, you know, kind of doing okay at keeping him on his toes. So he kind of treats her like a video game he hasn't finished playing yet.
Oh yeah, he'll get back to beating her one of these days, basically.
It's more like he wants to be really completionist about it because he only gets to play the game once, so he really
Oh, I
needs to squeeze
see. So he's doing
all the
the
side
100%,
content of it.
100% run of humiliating Rivet. I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, basically.
I do like the design of these enemies, these bladed robot things.
Yep. But yeah, as soon as we get the Emperor in the picture, it's like, oh, we need to go back to Sargasso to protect it from things, but we could do arena challenges now, so we're doing arena challenges now.
Yeah, that's typical video game bullshit.
Do all the side content as soon as it unlocks, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Doesn't matter how in danger. This is like classic JRPG nonsense. Doesn't matter how in danger the world is, or if that meteor is hanging over the planet, or if like a volcano is about to erupt. You can do side quest. It's fine. It's fine.
Who cares if meteor is falling? We have plenty of time to breed chocobos.